Hi, Muchísimo Eugene. Welcome to another video from Exit Strategy. Please like, subscribe, share the video if you found it helpful. Give it a thumbs up. Pass it on if you believe someone else will benefit from it. I'd appreciate that. And subscribe if I didn't say that. So, when the GPS signal gets weak or is lost on you, essentially the narcissist has no internet, no Wi-Fi. And I'm using this play on words to really unpack how it is when you go dark, when you go silent, dark, when you go in seclusion, when you go into isolation. Normally when you awaken and you have this information, you go into silence, you go into isolation, you go off of the grid in a good way, in a meaningful way. Because what you have realized is this is very fundamental and it's crucial to two things: your mental health, your state of mind, your vibration, your healing. And it is also crucial to you not being influenced and contaminated by third parties associated with the narcissist, because you don't want to give off any type of information or indicators of what you are now doing for you. Because if you've gotten this information in its appropriate fashion, and the appropriate fashion is knowing what you've been, the spell you've been under, knowing what type of individual you have been in proximity, close proximity with for months, weeks, years, a lifetime, family members. And you also know that you have to keep this information close to the heart. Because you know and I know, when we first awakened, the impulse and the desire to talk about it to other people was very strong. I spoke to people who I now know were very well narcissists themselves, but you can't undo what you've done. But so you begin to progressively learn from the error of your ways. In an awakened state, it's always going to be a learning from the error of your ways all through life. But these are stages you go through. And some of us who awakened, we got that information right away and we was tight-lipped with it. But either way, or you awakened, you know that this is something that you had no idea about. And so you know now it is very paramount that you stay away from anybody and everybody who's associated with the narcissist, because this is the GPS, this is the Wi-Fi signal that they rely on now that they don't see you. They don't see you in person. They are reliant. They're relying on third parties when they're with you. They recruit people unbeknownst to the people they're recruiting to spy on you, watch you, keep tabs on you, to report to them. And so awakened and isolated is even more so, because they panic. Because you're taking them out of, I would just use this for lack of a better word, their comfort zone, their relaxed zone. You taking them out of the zone of them being aware and in control of what and where, when, and how. So you've taken that element out of the equation. Now they have to work a little harder. They have to ask a few more questions. They have to pry a lot more now. The information is not readily available. Every time they go to power up, no Wi-Fi signal. Used to be a time when they could just go around those minions, and those minions would force feed them with the update. And narcissists wouldn't even have to ask. All they had to do is just show up. Now, when the narcissist not only comes around, the narcissist, now when the minions not only come around, the narcissist is actually initiating the visits to the minions. Like, Oh, you heard from so-and-so? They're asking extra questions. As in times before, all they had to do was just sit around and it'd be force fed to them. So the narcissist doesn't want to work at anything unless you count destroying you. And so the Wi-Fi signal is weak, if not down, on the info and the intel on you. You know how we are when that Wi-Fi go down, that signal, we start looking around, a little mild panic sets in, especially if we've been wanting to go on Facebook Marketplace and look at some stuff that we know we don't need, like myself. You say, man, what's going on? You look around, you check your modem. The modem seems like it's doing what it's doing. Then you get on the phone, you start calling customer service. And this is what narcissists do. They start calling customer service / minions / fellow narcissists / acquaintances of yours and theirs. They start calling, complaining. They start reaching out, asking. And they have funny ways of doing it when they won't really, they're too prideful to begin with. And instead of them just asking straight out, they're so slick with what they do. They may say something like, when they want to know about you from a third party, they may say, man, usually Mochismo would have been over to the house. I don't see him no more. Hope he okay. They ain't hoping you okay. They hoping you cease to exist, and take that whichever way you want. But that's as deep as it gets. When you no longer exist, they feel like their job is done. And so in them making that statement, they're indirectly asking that person, have you seen Mochismo? So they'll throw a comment out there. They're so prideful because they don't want that third party to even get the unction that they're in need of something, like some information. You're their servant, empath or minion. They value nobody. They value nobody. Even the people who are giving them juicy intel, keeping them abreast of where you are and what you're doing and how you're doing it, whether you're doing good or bad. They don't appreciate anyone. And so when that Wi-Fi signal is bad and weak, they panic, they got to run around town. You've caused them to work. You've caused them to exert a little more energy than they want to exert. They're used to receiving fuel. Now they're having to give off energy. And so now their gas tank is getting low. And if you know, like I know, you've studied about their behavior, when they're low on flow, when they low on fuel flow, they start irking and jerking like a car that's running out of gas. Mentally speaking, they just start spazzing on people that ain't got nothing to do with nothing. They have erratic behavior to begin with, but they become very temperamental. They just start acting like madmen or women. And to the people who are unattuned to what they are and who they are, they may in fact start absorbing these insults and this abuse much like you did. And so they start making excuses and apologizing like, I didn't do anything wrong, hey, anything I can do to help. All of this equates into building them up and filling their gas tank. Because now that person is creating a dynamics towards the narcissist, giving them that feel good feeling like someone cares about them. And you're their caregiver. I've said that before. Everyone around the narcissist is their caregiver. You're their seeing eye dog. They are nothing without people. They can't go into isolation like us. Isolation builds us, it kills them. Now, they do, however, go into isolation, and you notice when they are experiencing a narcissistic injury of big proportions, and this is generally when a narcissistic collapse is happening. And I've heard it, I've listened to some people that are better at this subject than I am, and they've said this is a time when the narcissist is unrecognizable. Of course, they are going to disguise of having a medical illness. They'll tell people I'm having an anxiety attack. And then they'll blame it on the person who is no longer around them. Generally, it's you, the empath. They will blame the empath for the reason they feel in the way they do. Like, this person left me and I don't know why. I didn't do anything wrong. They'll have people believing every word that they say because they go into victim mode. And victim mode equates to them garnering attention, adoration, adulation, which equals up into fuel. So even in a narcissistic collapse, it tends to not do what it's designed to do, which is to obliterate their asses, because they have people that come in and check on them. And often that person who comes in to check on them is that person that props them up, that gives them that canteen of water, donates an organ to them. They're on life support when you leave because you were the life support. Now they're on artificial life support. And so when that person comes around and props them up, sometimes it's just enough to get them out of that bed they've been in for 2 weeks straight, because they'll go into hiding, and that collapse, they'll close the windows, the curtains. They won't bathe. It's like a drug withdrawal. Anyone you've known to go into, let's say if they got arrested in jail, I've been in jail with some of these guys, and the drugs start coming out of their bodies and they stink and they reek like a rotten, like just a rotten corpse. And some of you have probably experienced this odor that some narcissists give off. And what you experience, now that you're able, you got a little more clarity now. You now know when you met them and when there were times that you smelled this odor, it was generally when they was having a narcissistic collapse, even though you might have not have been the culprit or the person responsible for it. Let's say you met them and 2 weeks in, all of a sudden you go in the room and you start smelling this odor, because I smelled it. And this was when they might have lost a supply or something as simple as something didn't work out. A person canceled something that they were counting on, like a meetup or something. They changed the plans on them, because you don't change your mind on a narcissist. You don't decide to go a different route, because in their head, when you say this is what it is, they have rested their head on that. And anything gets in the way of that, sometimes it bothers them like nobody's business. You and I, we can kind of roll with the punches. It bothers us, but we get past it. So that internet, that Wi-Fi, when it goes down, and I'm speaking metaphorically, when you go in isolations, they don't have any Wi-Fi connection. They can't keep tabs on you. Like back in the day when the phones, you didn't have data in the phone, or you had a limited amount of data until they started giving us unlimited. You could you could you could only use your phone, or you were very conservative with your data. Let's put it that way. You didn't have an unlimited amount. And this is when the narcissist had unlimited access to you. Now it's been limited it. So they cannot access you from the people that they have in times past. And so they got to wait until you get home to use the Wi-Fi. And even when the narcissist is back home at home base, and that meaning people who are very close to you, they still can't get no information about you. So even when they go back home, the Wi-Fi is down and they're perplexed. So why I'm making this video is, if they have no idea where you're at, what you're doing, nobody can give heads or tails about you, they panic. They panic for more than one reason, because they can't get fuel. That's just one reason. Now they're panicking. They're wondering, do you know about the bloody knife that they stuck in the person before before they met you? They're wondering, has anybody got to you? Has the last relationship or relationship, has that person got to you? So they start thinking, their paranoia kicks into overdrive. And after a while, they don't hear anything about you. I can guess they just go in their merry way, especially if they got another supply. That helps take their mind off of that panic. With me, when I disengaged and they finally bounced like a roach with the lights on and got out of here, me and my kids were at Panera one day. It was a beautiful summer day, hot out. And so we generally like to do, we sit sometimes outside right in front of Panero's and, eat our meal under the umbrella. And so the narcissist pulls up and has her high functioning autistic kid sitting in the back seat at 15, 16 years old. And so they pull up, and when they pull up, she doesn't realize that she's pulling up to the parking space only a few feet away from where me and my children are sitting. And as they're pulling in, I was able to identify it as them. And I actually kind of nonchalantly told the children, I say, hey, look who's pulling up. And at this point, I wasn't 100% healed or anything like that, but I was healed to a point where I didn't get spooked, because when you first awaken, you feel a little uneasy. You're always thinking, you're paranoid, believe it or not. You're wondering, when am I going to see this monster, this demon? You're happy to have that distance away from them, but you're wondering the element of surprise. Going in a store, you're hoping you don't run into them. And now it's no fun when the rabbit got the gun. So I'm at that point where they're pulling up and I can see them a mile away. This is a beautiful place to be. You'll begin to see these demons before they approach you, if you've had that opportunity and fortunate pleasure of seeing them from afar. And you are able to position yourself emotionally, I guess, the best way to say it. And so they pulled up and we were casually eating. And so they pull right up, feet away from us, just a few feet. And they realized, and I guess they sent the kid in to get the food. She was big on this pickup thing, the Walmart pickup. That was their big thing. Lazy sloth. Too lazy to get out of the car and even go grocery shopping. And I'm not against people who do pick up. It's a convenience to a strong degree. A lot of people have a lot of things going on in their life, things that are, excusable. And it just makes sense. But to be a sloth because you want to be served. So they pull up, the kid gets out of the car, goes in and gets their food. And so I'm thinking the pandemonium that they had sitting in that car waiting on that kid to come back out and get in that car. And they were looking down at their phone, and I can just only imagine. And so that was just one of many stories, not particularly with them, but there are stories you and I have when we're elevating our vibration and educating ourselves on this stuff. We know what they're thinking and doing and what they're not doing, as opposed to them not knowing a damn thing about us, because the Wi-Fi signal is either down or is lost. Beautiful thing, guys. That being said, bless.